Tracy Whittaker, and I'm the executive producer of the TV show Pawn Stars on History Channel, as well as other different reality shows, talk shows, and game shows that I've done. And I'm a two-time Emmy Award winner as far as television is concerned.
My name is Rick Harrison. You've probably seen the TV show Pawn Stars. I've been doing that for a little over 13 years. I've been filming that. And I own a pawn shop in Las Vegas. I own a lot of other businesses. I own a shopping center. I own a restaurant, rental properties, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Me and Tracy are partners in a production company. She's the brains of the operation. She's the one who tells me what to do all the time. But no, I've just been an entrepreneur my whole life. And it's, if you like working a whole lot, it's for you, because if you own your own business, it's not like people think that you can take any time off you want and things like that. Usually especially the first few years, you're working a lot. I mean, a lot. If an employee doesn't show up for work, you have to show up for work. And it can be a little chaotic with your personal life and things like that. You plan things, but then you own a business, and like I said, you don't have employees show up, or there's a problem. You have to cancel those personal things and then show up at business. Like first few years I opened up the pawn shop, I was working 7 days a week for months on end until I got the whole thing rolling.
Some of the kids wanted to know, what kind of advice do you have for anyone who would like to work behind the camera in television?
Oh, well, storytelling is huge. If you guys are interested in producing and being behind the scenes rather than in front, I would say, definitely gather your storytelling skills in that sense, and figure out, kind of like what you want to, correspond, what kind of content you want to put together and show different people out there. And I would just say, volunteer. Any type of person who's working in something, ask if you can tag along, lots of questions in the sense of what they're doing, and, are and want to follow along and learn.
Very good. So we were having a connection break up there for a second, but I'll just keep rolling these questions along. And you guys, thank you for putting them out in the chat and emailing as well. One of the kids wants to know, what were some of the things that you studied that helped you in your career?
Writing. So I definitely took a lot of classes in writing, and video, of course, in the sense of, how to shoot something, how to, again, storytelling, beginning, middle, and end. What's your A story? What's most important? A B story would be, a side along, tag along thing, and a C story would be, not so important, but, something that you want to put in regards to Pawn Stars, for instance, if we have a really big, item that might be worth $1 million, that's our A story. So we're going to follow that for a while. And then our B story might be something that's not so special, but, is fun and interesting. And then our C story might be like a quick little something that, came into the shop that's worth $40. Not a lot, put to it, but it might be something fun. So, definitely in that storytelling, you definitely, want to follow that, kind of formula.
We have a question from Alejandra in Spain. And Alejandra, you had an interesting question. Go ahead and ask whenever you can unmute.
Hi, I would like to know, how do you get started with Pawn Stars?
My agent. I've been in television for a while. I lived in Los Angeles, and I actually had moved to Las Vegas for a short period of time. And my agent, who I have, asked me if I wanted to be part of the show because someone was leaving. So I was pretty fortunate in that sense. But again, like I said earlier, the more people that you can network with and get to know, the better. Because if someone knows that you're hungry and want to do this business, then it's a lot of word of mouth. Hollywood is kind of small in that sense. I have friends all the time that we're constantly talking to each other in the sense of, oh, this show's available or that position's available. So it's a small world. So I would say network as much as you can.
Yeah, there was one of the kids that wanted to know, Was it kind of like a shock coming from like normal television, and then now you're doing, it's like, I can imagine that when you're coming into the shop for work, there's a new thing every single day.
Yes. Pawn Stars is very interesting because a lot of people just think, oh, you're a reality show, you're not real. Well, we are real. The only thing that we do is we do schedule people, because someone can't just show up to the shop with their item and get on television. So we do have to schedule people, but they submit their item and we put it through, our coordinator who schedules a time for them to come out and film. And we have no idea whether the guys are going to buy the item or not. Someone, might have something very interesting on their hands that the guys want to buy that has nothing to do with us or the production. It's all about the pawn shop and their money, not ours. And, or a lot of times, we have experts come in and say, unfortunately, it's fake. And, people for many, many years thought that they were holding on to something that was authentic. And unfortunately, it's not. So every day for us is completely different. And, it's fun, it's interesting. We see some sad times too when people think that they have something real and it's not, but it's definitely, every day is different, which is something that we really enjoy.
That has to be heartbreaking when you see that has to be that. Ouch. And we do have a question right here in Nevada, and this comes from Miss Gray's class. I'm not sure if you guys can unmute, but I was kind of wondering this myself. Go ahead and ask when you get a second.
Okay, Emery, do you want to ask? Oh, he doesn't want to ask. Okay, so Emery's question is, how do you authenticate jewelry, coins, etc.? Like, what is your authentication process?
Well, at the pawn shop, they deal with gold and silver all the time. And so there actually is a solution that can be put onto gold or silver to authenticate it, that they use if they have any doubt whatsoever. Or there's like a scraping you can actually do on a certain piece of material that they have here at the pawn shop. And then with gold and silver, gold specifically, it goes on the daily rate of what gold is going for. So if someone were to come in with some gold coins, obviously if it's a $20 gold piece, you're not going to get $20 for it. You're going to get the going rate of gold. And also you'll get the going rate of gold plus a grading. So if the coin is not scratched and has been in a good condition, your grading goes higher, and so the price of that would go higher. So it all depends on if you have a shiny, been in encapsulated, beautiful coin versus one that may have been in someone's drawer for many years and has been scratched up.
There's a lot, it seems like a lot of people working together, a lot of different experts working together to just get definitive answers. We have a production question, and this comes from Gabriel, and he is in Italy. Gabriel, go ahead and ask your question when you get a second.
Hi, nice to meet you. How do you think a storyteller has to be?
I would just say, keep your nose to the ground, kind of like look for, the interesting outlines of different things. I mean, everything sometimes isn't always in your face. Documentaries are, huge these days, and it's that's a huge part of storytelling. You might have something really interesting and you kind of do some investigative work and kind of figure out different things around it. There's a movie out right now. It's a documentary called The Last Leonardo. It is kind of close to home for us because it's about a painting that was found that could have been painted by, Leonardo da Vinci, but there's not necessary proof to it. But, by talking to different people, interviewing different people, you can get different people's perspectives on it, which then creates your story. So you basically are taking one item and, following it through on different people's perspectives to figure out, is it real or is it not real?
I mean, just the science behind that is just so fascinating. We have Mr. Terrell's class. You guys should be able to unmute to ask, and then we are going to introduce our next guest.
Perfect. So a couple questions about producing. I mean, we have some about Pawn Stars in general, but I think this is, since it's career week, I think this is better towards the actual job aspect of it. But, producing in general, is it an enjoyable job? And then also, what challenges are there in that job?
Yes, producing is completely enjoyable. I would say anyone that is organized in the skill set. It's a great job in that sense because, you know, when you're basically out in the field, you have to coordinate every little thing. So you have to, you know, get your location. Someone needs to get releases and make sure that legally you're fine. You know, someone needs to know, you know, how long are you going to be there for? You know, you have to be on time for different things. So if you say that you're going to show up at 8, you need to show up at 8. And if you tell them that you're going to be done at noon, you need to do that. Otherwise, you're going to have lots of people upset with you. So it's a very organized position in that sense of having everything, you know, completely detailed. Sometimes you miss things and you just have to pick it up on another day. But I would say organizational skills are very necessary for a job like this. And, you know, and being able to roll with the punches. A lot of times things do not work the way you want to. You show up at location and there's 10 trash trucks and it's loud and you can't record because the audio is not well. So you have to figure out and scramble and find another location, you know, within an hour or so. So I would say if you like to be on your toes and, you know, kind of run around a little bit and you get that adrenaline rush, you know, and making things happen, producing's for you.
The story about how you persevered through so many no's to get that yes, and now it's one of the most famous shows around the world. It's just one of those believing in yourself kind of stories. So we definitely can't wait for the movie to come out when they finally make that. So can we just jump right into student questions? Because I know you guys are kind of strapped for time. All right, I'm going to go over to Miss Gray's class, and I know you have an awesome student in your class who's my son, who is asking me this question this morning during breakfast about Rick's career and some of the objects that come in there. Miss Gray, I know you had that question.
I do. It might have been like mine did, but it wasn't Patton today.
Okay, then.
Actually, a different student. So Elijah, you want to come on up today?
Yeah. Has anyone famous ever been in your shop?
Oh, we've had tons of famous people.
It was both of you.
Like, oh, Tracy could tell us all the famous people. I forget all their names. No, rock stars, wrestlers, TV actors, movie stars, everything. They come in the shop all the time.
Absolutely. I know that my son Patton, he was asking this morning, what is the strangest object that's ever come through your doors?
Oh, that's a tough one because we get strange stuff every day.
And there are little kids on this. So just because I don't know, it is Las Vegas.
One of the coolest things was like a Viking bracelet that was 1,200 years old.
What? It should be in a museum.
A gold Viking bracelet. It's like 800 years old. A farmer was just plowing in his field in England, in northern England, and suddenly busted open this old iron chest, bust open, and it was full of Viking treasure.
Wow. That is in a pawn shop? I feel like that should be in a museum.
Yeah, but like museums in general, they like things donated. They really don't buy stuff.
That is great. One of our kids in France messaged us. I read online that reading played an important role in your decision in your career. Can you talk about some of the things you like to read when you're a child?
Well, my favorite books growing up was the Great Brain series. It was about a kid that was 8 years old growing up in Utah in the 1890s. And he told everybody he decided that he had a great brain and came up with all these different ideas to make money. And most of them blew up at the end, but he was always coming up with new ways to make money. And like I said, it was great when I was a kid because it got me really interested in history since it took place in the 1890s. And it was all about making money and this, that, and the other. It was a really fun set of books. And it gave you a really great insight about how people lived back in the 1890s. And I just fell in love with the books and became a nerd ever since. If you're going to be in my business, buying and selling antiques and things like that, you need to have a general knowledge of a lot of stuff. So you sort of need to be a book nerd.
Man, and it seems like, and this goes for Tracy as well, it seems like you both have kind of adventurous spirit. You know, you guys travel all over the world and you guys get to meet interesting people and learn so much different history. And we were just asking Tracy about that, is that every day seems like a new adventure for you, which is so cool.
Yeah, television production is an adventure because you have to deal with different people every day, different schedules every day. Like sometimes we travel and And we traveled to Italy like 2 years ago, and like the scenes started falling apart. You know, we were supposed to have permits and we didn't have permits, and it was just like trying to get everything to work together. But like Tracy's amazing. She, like I said, the brains of the operation. We got some really great stuff there, but it was scary there for a minute that the whole thing was going to fall apart.
What, during COVID? Or
No, this was a couple years. This was like 2.5 years ago. We were in Italy, and we were supposed to have permits for everything, and we didn't. And then turns out we didn't have the right permits. And then, so she was on the phone till like 1 o'clock in the morning, getting everything straightened out.
yeah, I'm sure there's some level of diplomacy or bureaucracy that comes along with that when you're crossing country lines. Speaking of Italy, we have a question from Pietro in Italy. And Pietro, you should be able to unmute. You had a pretty cool question.
Yeah, nice to meet you. And my question is, what's your favorite comic?
My favorite comic? That's a good one. I always loved the Hulk when I was a kid. Hulk was my favorite.
That's pretty solid. Tracy, do you have a favorite comic?
Oh goodness. No, I guess I would be a Batman fan. But yeah, I was gonna say, I guess Batman.
You guys get all kinds of stuff in there. So I know that there was a student in Mr. Stell's class that wanted to know, let me pull this up. What is the most valuable item that has come into your shop?
That'd be Tracy.
Yes, that's a good, well, we haven't, I would say it probably hasn't come into the shop, but we did go to Mount Vernon, which is the home of George Washington, a few years ago, and Rick actually held a sword, that the saber that was on George Washington's hip as he crossed the Delaware, and that's worth about $12 million.
Wow. And it should be noted that a lot of our edutainments, a number of our bigger ones have been set up by Tracy. And I don't know if some of you remember a couple of years ago, Dr. Scholler from Mount Vernon was set up by Tracy. And, you know, we can't thank you for, you know, all you guys do with that. Well, we have 2 more questions. We'll go to Rick, and then we'll kind of wrap this up. So one of our students in Spain wanted to know, is there an item that you absolutely cherish that's in your shop that might not be worth a whole ton, but like personally, it's an important thing to you?
Well, my favorite thing I own, I'll turn the screen. That window right there, that's the coolest thing I own. It's from 1190.
With the year 1190?
The year 1190, yeah. It's probably the coolest thing I own. It was a church window from England. The best I could date it is right at 1190, and that's like the coolest thing I own.
That is absolutely mind-blowing that you have something in your house like that.
Well, and the thing is, I can't really even price it because you cannot find a stained glass window that old for sale anywhere. So, but that's the coolest thing I own.
Man, so we have one of the last student questions. We'll let this go to Marco. Marco, you were asking about the experts that they have on the show, and you should be able to unmute to ask.
Yeah, what I was wanting to ask is that the experts are someone you had, or people that come with the product take his expert?
I had a hard time hearing you, but like the experts, those are people I generally do business with. And Marco Patton, you know, the beard of knowledge from the library, he's been my go-to guy forever. We literally do call him the beard of knowledge. That's his nickname. And if he doesn't know about it, nobody knows about it.
Wow. We have him, he's for part of the Nevada Museum of History, right? Here.
Yeah, he recently retired, but he was a museum director for right at 40 years.
Wow, that is quite a career. And the final question, Miss Tusame's class here in Nevada, they wanted to know, have you ever received an item that the owner had no idea it was worth a ton of money?
All the time. This was years ago, someone walked in and their grandmother or mother passed away, and in one of their drawers was a little brooch, and it was actually made by Fabergé. Fabergé, it was considered like the greatest jeweler of all time. You know, the greatest gold artist there ever was. And they just thought it was just some little brooch that was in their grandma's jewelry box. They had no idea. And it turned out to be worth a lot more than they were asking for.
I can't imagine. All right. So our final question, we will go to Tracy and then we'll hop on back to Rick and then we'll let you guys go. So Tracy, what kind of advice would you have for these students as they go off in the world and figure out what they want to do? As someone who's as accomplished as you are and done as much as you have, what kind of advice can you impart on them?
Well, like I said before, I think, you know, obviously, if this is something you want to do, organization is key. There aren't holidays or weekends, you know, so like Rick said, at 1 a.m, I'm trying to figure things out because we've flown across the country and we need to figure it out because we have to come back with footage. So, you know, it's definitely a 24-hour, all the time kind of thing sometimes, and you just kind of have to roll with the punches if that's the case. But again, like I said, networking, this Hollywood or, you know, the TV movie industry is very small. And so I would say get to know as many people as you can, you know, shadow, intern, do whatever you need to do to meet those people and do a good job. And then if you do a good job, they'll recommend you and you'll move up.
That is wonderful advice. And before we kick it on over to Rick, definitely check out gspawn.com and check out your local TV listings for Pawn Stars. And it's also on Netflix now too. So I know our kids in Europe have been watching quite a bit of that. So Rick, what kind of advice would you have for these kids? I mean, your story is a total embodiment of persevering through adversity and just believing in something when no one else believes in it. And what kind of advice would you give to them as someone so successful in your field?
I mean, if you're going to pick a profession, pick something you like. You don't want to get a job and work there the rest of your life and hate it. Just remember, if you're going to have start your own business of any kind, there's a lot of work when you start. And it can be frustrating sometimes, but you know what? Sometimes it always doesn't work out, but just keep on trying. And eventually 99% of the time it does work out. So work, learn. The more knowledge in your head, the more valuable you are to any employer, to your own business or anything else like that. So knowledge is king to making money.